Everyone in town whispered about David, the 23-year-old poor student who married Margaret, a 71-year-old millionaire widow. They laughed behind his back, sneered at the age gap, and whispered one word again and again: gold digger. But what David saw 7 days after the wedding silenced the world and changed his life forever. David was born into struggle. His father passed away when he was a boy, and his mother worked 3 jobs just to put food on the table. College seemed like a distant dream, but David fought hard, juggling studies and night shifts at a diner. He carried 2 things with him always: a tattered notebook filled with his dreams of becoming an architect, and a quiet prayer that one day life would give him a break. Margaret was the opposite. Life had been generous to her. She inherited her late husband's estate, with mansions, businesses, and wealth most people only read about. But money hadn't saved her from loneliness. After her husband passed, her days felt empty. She would sit in her giant house, surrounded by silence and framed photographs that only deepened her solitude. Fate brought them together in the most unexpected way. David worked evenings at the small diner near campus, and Margaret happened to stop in one rainy night. While everyone else avoided the old woman in pearls and expensive fur, David greeted her with kindness, offering her a dry seat by the window and a free cup of coffee. They started talking. One visit turned into another, and slowly, a friendship grew. David never once asked her about her wealth. He simply listened, something Margaret realized no one had done in years. Then, out of nowhere, Margaret proposed something that shocked him. "David," she said softly, "I don't want to live the rest of my days alone. Would you consider marrying me?" The town erupted with gossip when news spread. "He's only after her money," they sneered. David's mother cried, begging him to think carefully. But David saw something deeper. He saw a woman who had given her whole life to others, now left in silence. So he said yes. The wedding was small and awkward. No flowers, no music, only whispers of judgment hanging in the air. But when Margaret held David's hand and whispered, "Thank you for not letting me be invisible anymore," he knew he had done the right thing. For the first week, life seemed strangely ordinary. Margaret told stories about her late husband, about the empires they built, about the losses she endured. David continued attending classes, walking home each evening to a mansion that never felt like his. But on the 7th day, everything changed. David returned from class to find Margaret sitting in her library, papers spread out before her. Her eyes were soft but serious. "David," she said, "I know what the world thinks of you, that you married me for my money, but you never once asked me for anything. That's why I need to tell you the truth." She handed him a set of documents. At first, David thought it was just financial records, but then he realized they were ownership papers. The companies, the properties, the accounts. She had transferred everything to him. David's hands shook. "Margaret, I can't accept this. This is your life's work." But Margaret only smiled. "No, David. My life's work was my marriage, my love, and my memories. Money can't keep me company. Money can't hold my hand. You did. I don't need another fortune. I need peace, knowing someone kind will use what I built for good." David sat in stunned silence, tears welling up. But the real shock came not from the wealth. It came from Margaret's next words. "David, I don't have long. The doctors told me months ago that my heart is failing. I didn't want to die alone, with people remembering me only as a millionaire. I wanted to be remembered as someone who still had love in her life. You gave me that." David's world collapsed. He realized the whispers, the gossip, the judgments, none of it mattered. What mattered was the fragile hand in his, and the trust she had placed in his heart. From that moment on, David became more than a husband. He became Margaret's guardian of joy. He filled her last months with life, walks in the garden, trips to the seaside, laughter over board games, late night talks under the stars. For the first time in years, Margaret wasn't lonely, she was loved. And when her time finally came, she passed peacefully, holding David's hand, whispering, "Thank you for seeing me." After her passing, David didn't run off with the money as the world expected. Instead, he used it to honor Margaret's legacy. He built affordable housing for struggling families. He funded scholarships for students, like himself, who had once juggled studies and hunger. When people asked him why, David always said, "Because love isn't measured in years, or wealth, or appearances. It's measured in kindness. Margaret showed me that, and I'll spend my life showing it to others." The whispers faded. The sneers disappeared. In their place grew a story that inspired an entire community. Poor student, a wealthy widow, and the love that turned judgment into hope. And so, what began as a scandal turned into a legacy. David thought he had nothing to give, but in giving kindness, he received the greatest gift of all, a love that outlives time itself.